Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
It's not July 1st.
It's not, but it feels like July 1st.
A little bit. We're feeling patriotic today.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking all about this great country we are so lucky to live in coming up next.
Yes.
Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. 'Cause there's something about you and me just sitting around talking Scheetz.
Talking Scheetz, there is a great Canadian artist that wrote that song and put it together for us, Dan Davidson.
Yes, he gets the first shout out of the day.
He does. It's again, it's a Canadian version of the show. Before we get to that, I just want to say a couple of things. There's a bit of a controversy with my approach to the podcast. I've got my dear wife, Care, who tells me I have to pick it up. I've got to bring more of my radio voice into the podcast. I've got the executive producer, Renato, telling me I've got to pull it back. I am so confused. After 35 years of talking on a microphone, I have never questioned my ability more than I am right now.
And personally, I don't care what you bring to the table. I just edit the audio.
Right.
And you're all over the place. So that's my issue, is that sometimes you're like this, you're very loud, and then sometimes you're like this, you're back, and I'm just trying to make sure that the levels are even. I'm sorry to the fans if sometimes it isn't, but we're working on it. We're a work in progress here.
I know. I should be able to figure this out. Like I say, I don't understand. I've never seemed to ever have this issue before. I am sweating in here today.
Yeah, it's not a good sign when you're sweating before we start.
No, and you can see that if you watch the YouTube version of this. And I know a lot of people are busy. They just download it. We get lots of people that download the podcast on your typical forms, which are like Apple
Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're on anywhere that you find podcasts.
Right. But if you were seeing the YouTube, you'd see me sweating today, and you also see me proudly wearing a Canadian hockey shirt.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
I don't have a Canadian hockey jersey, which is weird. I've got like so many Oiler jerseys and Oil Kings jerseys and Elks jerseys, but I need to write that down for Christmas this year.
Okay. I regret not buying one from the Four Nations Cup this year,
right.
Especially knowing how it turned out. Those jerseys were sweet.
They were, but you are wearing red.
It's the best I could do. Yes, okay. I have one Canadian shirt. It is from Lululemon, which we'll talk about later. It's from the Olympics, but I wore it to work out this week, so it was in the wash.
Nice.
I've got a sweater, which, again, is never a good choice in this podcast studio. It is hot.
I've said it a few times since we started the podcast. We don't want to be political on this podcast, but it's almost impossible not to be, based on the current state of the world.
I love how almost every podcast so far, we've had to say, we're not going to be political, but, and then now here we are.
Yeah, so you know what? You know who is doing you know what down in the States, and the bottom line is, if anything good comes from this, I feel like, not 100%, but our country is probably more unified than it's been in a long time. Like, there's still people that go, yeah, I love that. Let's let him take over our country, and that would be great. But that group is much smaller than the group that says, hell no, you're not touching our country. Yeah. We're Canadian. We're proud of everything that we have. Yes, our country's not perfect, but screw off.
Yeah, I think that it has really brought people together, and we're just like we're not a little country in size, but in terms of population, we're smaller. But we're really banding together here, and it feels good. It feels good to celebrate. We should be doing this anyway. We shouldn't have to have a common enemy to be celebrating Canadian products and Canadian people. But you know what? We're here. So I think it's a great time to just talk about some of our favorite things from Canada.
Exactly. Yeah. Be more patriotic. Right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing. So that is the vision of the show today. And play along at home or in your vehicle or wherever you are.
Oh, yeah. We'll be asking on social media and in the YouTube comments, anybody that we didn't mention or anything we didn't mention that you love. Right. We want to get the conversation going, because I think the other thing is some of these products and people are surprising. You don't always know who's Canadian and who's from Canada, so it's a good opportunity to celebrate.
Right, and like Karen, I'm hoping that my microphone ability is up to her standards.
Yeah, she might have tuned it out. She might have turned it off already.
But she said, you guys should talk about like Canadian products that we can support and buy, and the grocery stores are starting to do that. Other things are starting to do that. They're starting to highlight the great things that we have in our country and supporting our local economy. So okay, here we go. Category number 1 is top Canadian Is this actors, comedians,
A little.
celebrities?
You created separate lists for actors and comedians because there are so many, but I kind of combine them. So it's kind of, yeah, it's both.
When you look, like if you pretended our group of Canadian male actors and comedians, if you said you put together the top 15 for like a hockey team.
Yeah.
And you put that against any other country in the world, including the United States, we would absolutely be able to compete with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it is shocking. Like, when you go through this list, you're like, oh, yeah, they're Canadian. Oh, my gosh, he's Canadian,
Yeah.
right?
The acting and comedy Olympics, if they existed,
Yes.
Canada would take gold every year.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's
for sure.
It's one of our greatest resources.
Yes.
All right, so let's give you some examples. Michael J. Fox, who, by the way, was born in Edmonton.
That's amazing. So not just Canadian, but Edmontonian.
Right. Michael J. Fox, I mean, Back to the Future and so many other things. What was the sitcom when I was a kid? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no. You're...
Family Ties, maybe? Yeah, I'm sorry. But Michael J. Fox, fantastic. And, of course, he's battled Parkinson's for so many years bravely. And he's a great Canadian, for sure. All right. John Candy. Now, do you remember John Candy?
I know of John Candy.
Right.
Yes.
Uncle Buck.
Yes.
Obviously, he was part of National Lampoon's Vacation. He wasn't a big part of it, but he was like the security guard when they finally got to Wally World, and so many other great things. And John Candy got his start in Edmonton as well at SCTV, which was where Global Edmonton is now. They had a studio there, and that's where John Candy got his start.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, you go.
Ryan Reynolds, who you love.
I
You're
love
having
Reynolds.
a real Ryan Reynolds moment.
I am, and there's some kind of controversy going on with him and his wife, and
Oh, I don't think that you can even scratch the surface of what's going on there.
I'm not going to.
That is none of your business. And
But, yeah.
he's,
But I know Ryan Reynolds has done some incredible things for like children at the Stollery and other
Yes.
places like that. He's made a ton of money doing all of his different roles and
Deadpool, he's got that Marvel money.
and my gosh, Deadpool, how good is that?
Yeah.
But he's given back a lot. But I'm a huge fan of Wrexham. If you haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet, you should. Him and his buddy Rob McAnally buy a team in Wales, and he was looking at buying the Ottawa Senators. You remember that?
He was
Or
in
being
the,
part
in
of
on
the
the bid. Yeah.
part of the ownership group. That would have made sense as well. All
I
right.
think we also need to clarify that the show is called Welcome to Wrexham.
Right.
Because you always just call it Wrexham, which is the team, and so it's
and the town.
Yeah, so it's a little bit confusing, but it's Welcome to Wrexham, right?
In case you're Googling.
Yeah, just so people know.
All right.
Another Canadian Ryan, which like people always say which Ryan, like Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling, who
Right.
I like Ryan Reynolds, but I think that Ryan Gosling is my favorite Canadian Ryan actor.
He's your Ryan?
Yes, I think so. Especially solidified by his performance in last year's Barbie movie as Ken.
Yeah. No.
Ken is from Canada.
I saw La La Land with you
Oh yeah.
in the Leduc Theater.
Yes.
I remember when we walked into that theater and it started, I'm like, a musical? I had no idea. These girls duped me.
Yeah.
I was like the only guy in the theater. But
Which has happened many times, but yes.
he's very talented.
Very good in La La Land.
Is he half Canadian? Is that the deal of Ryan
I'm pretty sure
Gosling?
he's full Canadian.
Full Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a full Canadian actor, and yeah, he's just
All right.
The Notebook. He's great. Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
one of the funniest
Oh,
people in the world, let alone Canadians in the world.
Yeah. Jim Carrey would be the kind of person. I think he's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. But but he just to have, let's just say, sit down and have a dinner with Jim Carrey. Like if you talked about somebody on the planet that would be like unbelievably entertaining, or maybe a complete introvert. You don't know, but I doubt it.
I think he's What is your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
It's Dumb and Dumber. Hello.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna say. Yeah.
That shouldn't have taken me that long. Dumb and Dumber is one of my top 2 movies.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's number 1?
It's probably number 1.
Okay.
Oh no, Talladega Nights.
Okay. There's some Canadians in Talladega Nights, I'm sure.
And then of course, Wicked, of course, is number 3.
You do love Wicked.
Talladega Nights, and Dumb and Dumber.
I love that.
Yeah.
My favorite Jim Carrey movie is definitely The Mask.
Yeah.
Do you remember watching that as a kid?
Yeah.
We watched that. Carter and I would play that movie on repeat. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think I should watch it again soon, but big fan of that one.
All right. Martin Short.
Oh, we're loving Martin
Murders.
Short right now.
Murders.
In Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so funny.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that he is dating Meryl Streep, which is like crazy.
In the show, spoiler alert.
In real life.
Right.
Like, the rumor is that Martin Short and Meryl Streep, I think they were both previously married and have, like, gotten together, and that is a real power couple.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we're not going to get through this list very quick if we.
I know. I know. There's
okay,
so many.
But you want to mention Seth Rogen.
Well, I want to mention Seth Rogen in case he's watching this. No, but Seth Rogen is my number one celebrity crush, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he's kind of got that, like, stoner energy. But he seems so kind and he's so funny, and I find him to be so handsome. Big fan of Seth Rogen.
Okay, and we have to mention Mike Myers.
Yes.
He had his moment on SNL recently when he had the shirt saying "We're not for sale" or whatever,
Yes.
and the term "elbows up"
Yep.
for Canada, like standing up for ourselves, elbows up, came from that, right?
Yeah. And he was playing Elon Musk in
Yeah.
SNL, which I don't know if the impression was good,
Yeah.
but you could tell through his impression
Yeah.
that he really didn't like him, which
No,
was
like he was getting it out. Right?
yes,
He
it was
getting out.
it was like an aggressive impression.
I'm scared to mention Elon's name because somehow all of a sudden our downloads won't happen or something. Anyway, Mike Myers, really quickly as well. The best, maybe my favorite movie above Talladega Nights is The Love Guru.
Oh, that is respectfully to Mike Myers and his Canadian. That is not a good movie.
I think it got 2% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
I love The Love Guru.
oh my goodness.
Justin Timberlake is in it. He's Jacques Lecoq Grande.
It's about hockey too.
It's about hockey. It's about
Yeah.
the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup, and Guru Pitka's in it. It is so bad, but it is so good.
I can't believe that your favorite movie of all time has the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that part. It's so good that I'm willing to look past that. All right, who's our favorite in that group? I mean, they're just all great. I would say if I had to pick somebody, geez. I mean, I would probably just go John Candy just because
A classic.
he was so good. And he left us way too early, but he was just John Candy reminded me of, like, he was like a Scheetz. He was like
I mean, you had some physical resemblance for sure.
and so he'd probably be my guy. And you love Seth.
I love Seth Rogen. I do. I think his movies are so funny. Oh, what is the Seth Rogen movie that I love with Charlize Theron?
The teddy bear one.
Not Ted. There's a romantic comedy that he's in with Charlize Theron that we saw in theaters. You were probably the only guy in the theater at that one that one too.
Yeah.
Long Shot.
Okay.
Yes, really good.
He's always stoned.
Well, that's not what I like about him. He seems very kind. Maybe it is that he's always stoned, but I don't know.
All right, let's go to top female comedians / actors, and the list is not as long for this group, but the ones that are there are very, very powerful.
I will say there's amazing Canadian actresses.
Yeah.
There's not as many comedians that have kind of come up. But I also think that, like, when we look at the list that we have of the male Canadian, comedy isn't a place where women were able to break through for a long time.
Right. There wasn't many Nikki Glazers.
Yeah, so I feel like there's going to be more up and coming.
I was going to say, I think that if we were doing this podcast in 10 years,
yes,
the list will be much longer.
Yes, but there are a lot of amazing Canadian female actresses.
Okay, let's start with Catherine O'Hara.
Yes, she is a comedian.
She was started on SCTV again, and I believe she started in Edmonton as well. But I mean, Schitt's Creek, Moira, literally one of the best roles. Everyone, if you have not watched Schitt's Creek in your life, that's one that I would tell you. I'd say Breaking Bad, Schitt's Creek are two must-watches.
Yeah, especially right now. Like we said, there's so much going on in the world, so much news, so much negativity. Schitt's Creek just makes you feel good.
And you talk about, we might add another category, because we should talk about the best television or show, or the best show that was created in Canada. Schitt's Creek is got to be.
Yes, and
I mean it's worldwide acclaimed.
Yeah, Dan Levy, who started on Much Music, Canadian company, and his dad Eugene in it. Those two again would deserve a shout out as well. But Schitt's Creek is amazing.
So Catherine O'Hara, brilliant,
so good.
All right,
Rachel McAdams. What can we even say? Like she is such an icon.
Give us some examples of her
well,
best
we
work.
talked about The Notebook already,
right,
which is with Ryan Gosling. So that's a full Canadian movie. If you want to really celebrate Canada, watch The Notebook and cry.
Right.
I love her in Mean Girls, of course. Mean Girls is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is such a classic, and she's the perfect Regina George. I will also, as an anecdote, say that our executive producer, my husband Renato, has met Rachel McAdams in a bar before.
Really?
He's met her.
Did she try to get his phone number, his digits? Or?
Well, he didn't tell me that.
Where did that happen?
Vancouver? Toronto? Toronto, yes. He met her just in a bar in Toronto, which is something that, like, I'm speaking for him here, but he said she's so beautiful in real life and so small.
Okay.
Most famous people are small.
Okay.
That's
all
why
right.
we're not that famous.
Got it. All right. More John Candy style. Alicia Cuthbert. Alicia Cuthbert, my first experience with her was watching 24, which, again, one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Kiefer Sutherland. I haven't heard his name for many, many years, but his dad, Donald Canadian,
Mm-hmm.
right, was very, very, very prominent.
Mm-hmm.
And Alicia Cuthbert she's been in a number of other things, but that
Mm-hmm.
was 24 that's I
Mm-hmm.
love 24. I don't know how all that stuff could happen in 24 hours, and they never had to charge their phones.
That was a long time ago too. The phones didn't hold a charge.
That's
like
what
that.
I'm saying. Somehow they always had their phones.
I
for
can
that
hear
24
the
hours.
beeping from that show. Boop 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 boop. You used to watch that all the time.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Sandra Oh, Canadian icon from Grey's Anatomy, of course.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, Sandra Oh. I love her in the show Killing Eve, which is, I think you would actually really like, but it's a little bit of a kind of thriller crime show, and she's so good in it.
Right.
I also want to give a shout out to an Edmontonian who's kind of up and coming in the acting community, which is Lisa Gilroy.
Lisa Gilroy.
Yes, she's from Edmonton and she's done a lot of work. She kind of came up on TikTok and Reels doing like comedy sketches.
Okay.
And she's just kind of made her way through the comedy scene and is now appearing in all kinds of shows and guest starring roles and has a couple more roles coming up. But I was just watching Running Point on Netflix, which is a new show by Mindy Kaling with Kate Hudson in it. Not Canadians, but I was watching the show, really enjoyed it. And she popped up in kind of a guest starring role. And I was like, wow, she's from Edmonton.
Okay,
and
that's
she's
cool.
in this brand new Netflix hit.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so shout out to her. She would be an amazing guest. So I'm
Okay.
hoping that one day we can get her on the show because she's.
Somebody related to her is probably listening.
Come on, if you're related to Lisa Gilroy, she's so funny. I guess we could just reach out to her on social media, but.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. And the final one on this list, she was actually spotted at a BC Lions football game.
Yeah.
And Pamela Anderson.
Yes.
She obviously was on Baywatch and she did so many different things. She's having a moment now, as you said.
Yeah.
I saw her on maybe Kimmel or I think it was Kimmel, and no makeup.
It's her new thing, her natural beauty. Because I think she came up in a world where her appearance was so important and she was such like a sex symbol and an icon in that way. And I think she's kind of reclaiming that for herself. And she's like, you know what? I'm beautiful and I don't have to try that hard.
Right.
And she is. Yeah,
Right.
I've heard that her new movie, The Last Showgirl, she's incredible in and is going to be like nominated for a ton of Oscars and stuff next year. So I'm excited to see that. Pam is iconic. Girls are doing the Pamela Anderson hair to this day.
Right.
Like, she really is such a Canadian icon.
I can just see her bouncing down the beach.
Well,
It's just sorry, and David Hasselhoff too. I mean, whatever.
he bounced less. He was very hard.
To each their own. All right, so there's our ladies. Shout out to them and
Yes.
that Edmonton person's name.
Lisa Gilroy.
Yeah, so
Look her up.
there's an example of a female comedian cutting through now, right?
Yes, exactly. Edmontonian.
Awesome. All right.
So cool.
Favorite Canadian food? Oh boy.
Yeah.
My gosh. Alberta beef. It is well known around the world.
Mm-hmm.
If probably it would be one of the top few that again, people I assume would ask for Alberta beef in France and other places like that. Like, it's exported all over the world and it's the best.
I don't think you realize how good it is until you travel and
Right.
you're like, because we grow up with it so
Yeah.
much, we're like, oh yeah, this is what steak tastes like, and then you go somewhere else and you're like, oh, this isn't very
And they
good.
say, oh, it's corn fed. Oh, that's the difference. Right? So
But Alberta beef is amazing.
we like
yeah.
alfalfa fed. Okay, what do you got? One?
Well, poutine is
Right.
my favorite Canadian food by
Okay.
far. I've
Okay.
never been to Montreal, but I do think that I should go just to eat. I would
Okay.
love to get the bagels and the meat sandwiches and the poutine, but poutine is the best.
Okay, Donairs are Canadian.
Yes.
I did not know
Yes.
that.
Yeah, Canadian food. I want to say, is it from Edmonton or something like that? No.
No.
Producer's giving me all kinds of tips today.
You know what is from Edmonton?
Green onion
Yes.
cakes. Yes, that's what I was thinking. I knew that's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, we talked about it a few episodes ago. If green onion cakes would definitely be on my final death row meal.
Yes.
I love the green onion cakes.
Me too. anytime we order anything, it's always a side of green
I
onion
assumed
cakes.
everybody ate green onion
Yeah,
cakes.
it's honestly sad that they don't.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we have that for ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to throw in craft dinner here. because producer Randy was Renato was
Doing
googling
research.
the craft dinner and craft, but it sounds like craft started in Canada, and we don't 100% know the whole craft story.
It's murky.
But I'm pretty sure, like when I see people saying support Canadian, Google this before you do it. But I'm sure craft peanut butter and stuff is part of that list. So, but anyway, craft dinner.
It's like the most comforting
As long as it's
meal.
not too runny, because that's gross.
I like it in any form, to be honest, but I agree. It needs to be a little thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put too much milk in it.
No.
Okay.
Craft dinner.
All right. Favorite Canadian snacks.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been categorized with food, but we just had to talk about it. I mean, chips is the place to start.
Yeah.
Ketchup chips, dill pickle chips,
Yeah.
all dressed chips. None of those are available in the United States, which is just like they are missing out on maybe the top 3 types of chips ever.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, yeah, all-dressed chips have all them in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all-dressed chips, like a Ripple all-dressed chip is probably the best chip. But ketchup chips were always, they have sour cream and onion, do you think, in the States? I'm asking, probably.
Yeah.
I'm asking that question.
But that's their best chip. That's the best they can offer.
All
where
right.
we have, dill pickle is my favorite.
So we love chips. Okay.
Yeah. Chocolate bars. We got Coffee Crisp, Crunchy Bars, Scores. Some of my favorites.
Smarties
Yeah.
are in that. There's a lot of chocolate bars that we only have.
Yeah.
The Wonder Bar. It's my favorite, probably the Wonder Bar.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that would be better than the Wonder Bar would be the OG Cuban Lunch.
You've talked about this one, not on the podcast, but you are passionate about a Cuban lunch.
I love the Cuban lunch. It's a rectangular chocolate with nuts and stuff in it. It. From what I understand, it was manufactured. The original, the OG, was manufactured in Manitoba.
Oh.
And there's companies that now do it here, and it's available in places like Friesen Brothers and stuff like that. And the chocolate's just a little different. It's not quite the milk chocolate. It's almost a darker chocolate. And I'm not complaining. I'll still eat it, but it's not quite like the OG was. The OG Cuban lunch was like the best.
Your favorite. I would have presumed it was a Cuban product.
So did
but
I, all my life. I thought, we got it from Cuba. No.
Cuban Manitoba.
But there's a ton. There's a ton of
Then that's
of
the
junk
thing.
foods.
With all of these categories, we are not creating a comprehensive list. You have to
No.
look them up on your own. We're just naming some of our favorites because there's definitely so many actors, foods, things that we haven't mentioned.
There's probably there's people shouting out.
Yes.
And that's what we're hoping for here. Like, you know what? Because again, we're proud of what we've got here. We're proud of what we've done, whether it's talent or whether it's food. And so we're just kind of playing along. All right, what are we doing?
Favorite Canadian athlete. I mean, there's so many hockey players that I think we've kind of stepped outside of that for this category because we could just list our favorite hockey players ever, and it would just be like, it would take too long.
Yeah, there'd be 25 of them.
Yeah.
Right, probably. Although, okay, I'm going to start. What about Hayley Wickenheiser?
Oh, she was going to be on my list if we were to mention hockey players. You know how much Hayley Wickenheiser meant to me growing up.
Yeah.
She's so cool.
Yeah.
And when the Four Nations Cup was on, that interview of her resurfaced where she was kind of dragging the American team, and she's just a Canadian legend. Yeah, I wasn't an amazing hockey player, but she was my icon growing up.
And is she a doctor too? Is she not a doctor, Hayley Wickenheiser?
She did go to school after she retired from hockey. So.
Again, I throw a lot of things out there, but I think Hayley Wickenheiser might be a doctor.
You know
the
podcast Armchair Expert where they do the fact check afterwards? We would have a fact check with producer Renato that would be longer than the podcast itself. We're just throwing things out. It's so hot. We're just maybe making things up. But I like to think that Hayley Wickenheiser is a doctor. So let's just...
Okay, let's say she's a doctor. Okay, I'll Google it while we have some off time here. Okay, I started there. You go with somebody on the list.
Okay, well, I'm stepping into the soccer world, so I have two from Canadian soccer. Canadian soccer is just having an incredible moment right now. Like Soccer Canada is typically we don't really have the strongest teams. We haven't, but the Canadian women's and men's teams are really kind of on the up and up, and that was led, especially Canadian women, by Christine Sinclair, who might be one of the greatest Canadian athletes ever.
Definitely.
But she is just amazing. And then on the male side of that, Alphonso Davies, who, again, an Edmonton product.
Yes.
Alphonso.
Unbelievable
so cool,
story, right?
so fun.
Yeah.
Started in Edmonton with soccer programs here throughout the city and has made his way up. And he's just, I had a chance, I will humble brag for a minute, but I did have a chance to meet him when he came to drop the puck at an Oiler game a couple seasons ago. And he just had such amazing energy. He seems like the nicest kid. Like happy to be here, but so incredible.
Started at such it's incredible humble roots, right? Like as an immigrant to Canada, his family was, and he's now
started with free soccer programs within Edmonton, and then worked his way up to just being an absolute soccer star in the world. So Canadian soccer is really having a moment.
All right. According to AI Overview, Dr. Haley Wickenheiser is a Canadian doctor who practices emergency medicine and family medicine.
Wow. Imagine you break your leg.
Yeah.
You get rushed to the hospital.
Yeah.
The doctor taking care of you, Haley Wickenheiser.
Yes.
That would be, I would think that I had died. I would be so excited.
I think so too. All right, I'm going to do a shout out. We could do a whole category of favorite Canadian curlers in my world. Anyway,
Yes.
There's so many great curlers. Rachel Holman right now is her rink. She might go down in history as the best ever female curling team. There's a bunch of them, but she's on that list. But Brad Gushu. And we got to do this shout out for your grandma.
Oh, her Gushu.
Yeah.
As she calls him.
Yes. Your grandma Dia loves Brad Gushu.
To him, he is Ryan Gosling to her.
Yes.
Like he is the most famous and attractive person in the world to Grandma Dia. And he seems like a great guy. He's a great curler, but she is in love with him.
Yeah. And for her 80th birthday, we got like a Canadian cameo of Brad Gushu saying happy birthday to her.
Yeah.
I think she watches that every day.
I think so too. Yeah. He's great.
And anyway, shout out to curling. I don't think it was invented in Canada. It was probably invented in Scotland or something. But anyway, curling.
We are really just making stuff up today.
I'll Google it.
Shout out to Scotland, though. That's fine.
I don't know. My gut's telling me curling was not invented here. Basketball was.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
The sport I was best at. Yeah, you're right.
What was the name of the basketball guy? Oh, the inventor of it. I could Google that too.
Oh,
Anyway,
no.
I need a computer in front of me.
I think we just assume we're right.
All right. Yeah, go.
The next category that we have is our favorite non-Edmonton city, because it speaks for itself that we are both just Edmonton people.
Sorry, we got to stop. I want you just to read that what it says there in the top of that.
Can you not read it?
No, I want you to read it.
Okay. Evidence before the year 1541 is scarce, but it was the notary John McQuinn in Paisley, Scotland, that kicked off the written history of curling. All right.
I swear I pulled curling right out of my butt.
Yes.
Or sorry, Scotland out of my butt.
And you were right.
Yes. And
John
Haley
McQuinn.
Wickenheiser, I am literally having the best podcast of my life.
We didn't have to fact check because you're right.
No, ask me something else.
John McQuinn in 1541. That was so long ago.
Hard, John, hard.
You need a Scottish accent. Oh.
Okay, hang on, Scottish accent.
Oh no.
Hard, John, hard.
Oh my. All right, the heat is getting to you already.
All right, favorite what?
Non-Edmonton city.
Non-Edmonton
because we
city.
love Edmonton.
Greatest city in the world.
Yeah.
Non-Edmonton city. Go.
Well, you wrote Victoria.
I wrote that for you.
Oh, you wrote it for me. Oh, that's nice. I thought maybe we had the same one.
I think we do have the same one.
Yes.
It's Victoria.
We've talked about this before, but I went to school in Victoria for a year, and you do feel like you're in a different, like, magical Lord of the Rings place. I know that Lord of the Rings was shot in New Zealand, but it's it's truly a beautiful place, and the ocean and just the vibe of the city is amazing. I like Vancouver a lot too. I think that like the West Coast in general is
you got the mountains, you got the ocean.
Yeah, you have everything.
You've got Canada.
It's so special.
I mean, you've got.
You do feel like you're like it's a special Canadian place.
It's brutal to try to get out of Vancouver because they only got one highway getting out. But,
yeah.
But you're right. And Victoria, I've said this before. When you went to school there, I just assumed you were going to find somebody, fall in love, move there. We were going to have to move there too. Reluctantly, have to move there. It didn't happen, which is great. But I could live in Victoria
For sure.
I absolutely could.
The demographic is mostly old people, and there's also way more women in Victoria than men, which maybe is what makes it such a magical city. But it is so many dogs too. Just like everybody's got a dog, and they're all swimming in the ocean.
Yeah,
it is beautiful.
All right, perfect. Okay, so that's our favorite non-Edmonton city. Okay, favorite female musical artist.
There's so many. Like I feel like on this one, women really take the cake.
I agree. I was going to say if there are more men comedians and actors, there's more female artists
so
that
many.
have broken through as superstars.
Yeah, so many. I mean, Shania Twain, the first one.
Yeah.
What can we even say about Shania Twain? Shania Twain shaped who I am. Let's go, girls has been my motto for the entirety of my life.
Started planting trees. Her parents were killed when she was a very young girl in a car accident, and she absolutely is legitimately maybe top 2 or 3 most recognizable Canadians in all of the world.
And she's still going.
Yeah.
Like she performed before an Oilers playoff game last year,
Right.
and she was just incredible. Like
Yeah.
she's still got it, and she is really.
And she's tiny too.
Just a small person.
Like she's like literally 4 feet tall.
Yeah, they
You don't
all
realize
are.
it? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, Shania, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Celine Dion.
Okay. Have you seen her documentary?
No.
I have. It's unbelievable.
I've heard it's very sad.
It's sad.
Which is
It's
why
sad.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's sad because I don't know. I'm not going to throw out what disease she's dealing with, but it's horrific. She goes into seizures. It's just. But to watch that lady plow through it all is amazing. The Celine Dion documentary is something to watch, and it makes you proud of her certainly and being a Canadian. But Celine Dion or Shania Twain, who's the biggest star of those two? Probably Celine. I mean, worldwide.
Yeah, Celine is. I think they're both.
Yeah. Why do you have to pick? But but they're both monsters.
Yeah, it depends what music you listen to.
Okay.
I think that it's. My Heart Will Go On. It's just like one of the greatest songs of all time.
Yeah, literally, it's one of the biggest songs ever.
Yeah.
So I don't think Shania's got one of those, although, but yeah, not as big as that.
Yeah.
All right.
Terry Clark, another Canadian country music icon
Medicine Hat
was a huge part of my childhood, obviously. Like, that's who I sang the most.
Yeah.
Alanis Morissette, which we've been talking about Alanis a lot lately because of your ironic.
Isn't it ironic?
Isn't it ironic?
Because I haven't learned the definition of irony yet.
And unfortunately, Alanis doesn't know it either.
Because that's where I probably got it from.
Yes, when you actually
get rain on your wedding day. Isn't that ironic?
No, it's just bad luck. It's just tough. But we do love Alanis. I remember a grade 6 English class, one of my teachers at the time brought the lyrics and was like, "This isn't irony, by the way," and it really stuck with me. But a good song, and Alanis is a Canadian icon.
All right.
I have a few pop girls that were a huge part of my childhood. Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy.
I got a couple of stories about Avril.
Yes.
First one, I was doing the morning show on Kissin', and we were just doing our thing. And at that point, right beside our studio was Power 92, which was this monster radio station in Edmonton at the time. And so they were our sister station. So we were in the same building. So one morning, this young girl comes by at like 8 a.m, and she's riding on somebody's back. They're piggybacking her, and she goes back by our room. And if you're watching the YouTube right now, she kind of gives us the horns and tails
Which
thing.
is Avril's thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sticks out her tongue. And it's like we're playing Randy Travis, and I'm going, what the hell was that? And they go, oh, that's Avril Lavigne. Apparently she's a pretty big pop star.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, why did she stick her tongue out at us? Then we went to her show.
Yes.
I don't know if it was that time, but we went to her show.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Avril Lavigne.
How old were you?
I was in grade 4 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, she was such an influence on my life that I wanted to wear your ties to school.
Yeah.
So like she would wear the like skater boy look with the ties and the big jeans and the eyeliner. And I remember specifically bringing a tie of yours to school.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to look like Avril Lavigne. And then I was quite young when we went to that show as well.
Yeah, that you were too young to go to that show because the opening act, and I'll remember this to the day that I die.
Yeah.
Their names were Swollen Members.
No.
Their names were
Gob.
No.
Yes.
Really?
It was Gob.
Are you dare doubt me on my?
Yeah, you're right. You're having a big good
Google
day.
It was Swollen Members because I'm like, my daughter is in grade 4 and the opening act is Swollen Members. And so
I think that maybe Gob and Swollen Member. I think there may have been 2 openers.
I don't. I'm sure Swollen. I bet my life on it. It was Swollen. The bottom line was, it was just you and I did not sit in our seats for Swollen.
We were on the floor.
Yeah. Oh right.
And
yeah,
so
'cause I got
we were surrounded by men with giant mohawks and spikes everywhere and tattoos.
Did we watch the Swollen Members?
We did. And then you went and took me for a t-shirt. And I think that's the only reason I got that $40 t-shirt was because you were like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, Gob maybe.
I have a very, very vivid memory from that night that I think is a very beautiful father-daughter moment.
Yeah.
And it was we were on the floor during Avril Lavigne. I couldn't see anything. I was in grade 4.
Right.
I think you were a bit worried for my safety at some points because people were moshing,
Right.
like moshing,
Right.
and I was just and I was a small girl. I was in grade 4, but I wasn't a small girl.
Right.
I was tall,
Yeah.
and I remember you put me on your shoulders,
Yeah.
which would not have been easy at that time because I
Right.
wasn't that young.
Right.
But you were like, okay, this kid's gonna get, she's gonna get hit. So I remember watching the show on your shoulders, being a bit too big
Yeah.
to be on my dad's shoulders, but I thought it was very sweet that you brought me to that show and did that, and I love Avril. Carly Rae Jepsen, another one. Call Me Maybe, you know that
I
one?
love that song.
Okay.
I love Carly Rae.
Yes.
Love Carly Rae.
She
yes.
is honestly one of the greatest pop stars of our generation. She doesn't get the credit. But Emotion, her album,
Right.
is one of the best ever.
Okay.
And a new kind of up-and-coming, I mean, she's not even up-and-coming now, she's a star, but
Yeah.
Tate McRae. Have you heard of Tate McRae?
She was on SNL.
Okay.
And I kept telling Karen when she was on, I said, she's from Calgary.
Okay, so you do know.
I do know.
Yes.
She's beautiful.
Yes, she's beautiful, she's talented.
And
She's...
no disrespect to anybody in Calgary. We're loving
You
Canada.
say that like you were surprised she's beautiful because she's from
We're
Calgary.
loving Canada and everything. But
Yes.
no, but I mean, anyway, she just, not that she looks prettier than she's from Calgary, but she just, I don't know,
She's a star.
She's
Yes.
like you just don't, whether she's from Edmonton, Calgary, whatever.
You don't
you'd be like,
picture somebody
holy cow.
Yeah, she's amazing, and she's an incredible dancer. She's a
Right.
classically trained dancer who performed as a dancer before kind of becoming a pop star. And her new album, I'm loving it, and it's so cool that she's from Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
those
right.
are some of our favorite female artists.
Okay, let's go male artists. Now, here's the thing with male artists. I can't go down the country route because I would be like, it's like choosing your favorite child.
It's like us with the hockey players too. It's like it's just
I can't do male country artists. Like I
Yes.
just can't because there's just so many and they're all friends and some of them I want to get on this podcast. So
you're really
but we know of them all.
Yes, of
I
course.
mean,
There's the Canadian country music scene in general is amazing.
Yeah. All the way from Ian Tyson to Jade Eagleson and Brett Kissel and Paul Brandt and Dallas Smith and here I go, I'm starting to name
Yeah,
them now.
you're doing it. You're gonna miss someone, and it's gonna be weird.
and Derek Rutan and
No, you gotta stop.
Aaron Goodman and I better I shouldn't have even started. The bottom line is we love all our Canadian country music artists and we rock in the country world in this country.
Yes.
We really do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the rock artists. Yeah, Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
Bryan Adams is I mean Summer of '69
Yeah.
is literally one of the biggest songs that's ever come out of this country, I would suggest.
Yeah, it's
Right?
so good. Yeah. I have some like pop R&B artists.
Yeah, go.
Drake is kind of in the middle of a feud right now with Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
I've tried to explain this to you during the Super
diss,
Bowl.
The diss track.
The diss track, exactly.
I know about that.
But okay.
But I don't know what that means, but I know it's a diss. I know diss is like, diss is not good, for example.
Like this podcast is a bit of a diss track in its own way right now.
Diss has been better.
This couldn't be worse. But Drake, I love old Drake.
Yeah.
Say you miss the old Drake. I do miss the old Drake.
Yeah.
And I love his album Take Care, one of my favorites ever. The Weeknd.
Yeah.
You know The Weeknd?
I know The Weeknd. The Weeknd's great.
Yeah, okay.
I
can't
love
feel
The
my
Weeknd.
face when I'm with you. That's probably his
Ladies and
biggest hit.
gentlemen, The Weeknd.
Yes, the meme. Okay, you are dialed tonight.
No, I didn't take my ADHD
I was just
meds.
going to ask if
I
you
didn't.
did.
I didn't.
Wow.
Yet I'm sweating and I feel like I have. I'm fired up. I'm in a good mood. Okay, so
Justin Bieber.
yes, I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, you can't mention Canadian music without mentioning Justin Bieber.
And there's haters, but again, you hate us because you ain't us. He's gone through his challenges, and who wouldn't, based on that. But Justin Bieber is a gigant. He's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, but
yes,
but we're not hating on even Toronto because it's all pro Canada. We're just like
I'm a lifelong believer.
Yeah,
I am. I
know
really.
you are. What's your
I
favorite song by him? Whoa.
Oh, is that Baby that you're singing? Oh.
Whoa. Yeah.
I don't know what my favorite song is. Maybe I like so many of them, but I like Beauty and the Beat.
Okay.
It never misses.
Hey, Page Down, Page Down. I want to see. I think, honestly, I'm going to call an audible here because this has been so good and it's gone longer than we expected. I honestly think we could do a part 1 and part 2 of Canada. And next week we can do another, because I want to talk best Canadian television shows of all time. I've got some real thoughts on that.
Yes.
Because I grew up watching so many Canadian TV shows because quite honestly, that's all we had. We didn't have cable on the farm.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that. We got to talk about your favorite Canadian brands and all that stuff. I think that makes sense.
And we want to talk about our favorite places in Canada. I know we talked about our favorite cities, but there's so many places that we visited and have so much history with.
Yeah.
Okay. This has nothing to do with the fact that the Oiler game's about to start upstairs, does it?
No, it doesn't. I don't know how long we've gone, but I would suggest 42 minutes. Yeah. So
we don't want to bog people down with 3-hour podcasts.
And I'm hoping that if you've enjoyed this, because I can say that producer Randy, and maybe it's a bad thing, but I've never seen him smile and laugh as much as he has.
He does think we're funny
in this episode. So I'm hoping that we've given. He's going like this, which is like he's witch about this episode. We're in trouble. Before we go, we got to do a shout out for a great Canadian company, Londonderry Dodge.
Yes. Amazing Canadian company with Canadian employees
that
are always so kind to us.
Yeah, we did some Googling. I drive a Dodge Ram 1500 right now. According to the internet, 58% of the parts in a Dodge Ram are built right here in Canada.
You are like a human computer right now.
Oh, I can spit it all out.
Wow.
You're driving
a 2025 Jeep Compass Trailhawk, which they're going to start producing in Brampton, Ontario.
Home of Wayne Gretzky.
Starting next year.
Right.
Yeah. So there's Canadian ties to you can't do anything without Canada touching it, you know?
No.
But Londonderry Dodge, our products, you can really tell there's some Canadian influence in there when you're on the road. They drive amazing on Canadian roads, which right now this spring it's all over the place. There's ice, there's slush, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to Mitch, Jamie. Tell them the Talking Scheetz podcast sent you.
Yes.
They will give you as good a deal as anybody, and
Yes.
The service is fantastic, and they got a great product like we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's probably good. It's got nothing to do with the hockey game. I swear it doesn't. I think it's just it's time. I think we can not take advantage, but I think this has been good, and I think it's important. And it's just again, if any good is coming from the mess that's happening, and it's a mess
In the world, yes.
absolutely, it's a mess. Is that Canadians are becoming more unified and appreciating what we have to offer here. So
and we're celebrating. We're celebrating our people and our products and our things, and I think that's just it's great. Yeah. Canadians need to stick together.
We need to stick together. We are a country, and we're going to stay a country, and we're elbows up.
Elbows up, like Mike Myers. I wish we had cool shirts to reveal. Maybe next week.
Well, you know what? You never know. Okay, well, I hope the mic quality was good.
It was. I think you were good.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I was amped up.
Let us know also what we've missed.
Our home and native land.
Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. 'Cause there's something about you and me just sitting around talking sheets.